Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video. And as you can probably tell from the title, this video will be going over phase 1 of Black Mage. Now, a couple things before we get started. I was thinking of a bunch of ways to make this Black Mage guide, and I've decided to split it up into each of its 4 phases. So I'm going to make a video for each phase. Since I do consider each phase to be its own separate boss, since each phase has a ridiculous amount of HP and each phase has different mechanics that you have to know and different ways that you can dodge those mechanics. So basically you have to mentally reset after every phase. So also, I'm going to be taking this from an unliberated perspective because that's the way that I did it. And obviously, if you are liberated, you have a Jenny iframe, which would make staying in roar a lot easier. A lot of the optimization that I do in phase 1 is to stay in roar for as long as possible. And if you have Jenny iframe, obviously you can stay in there for 10 seconds for free. But yeah, so also for this particular phase, it's going to be mainly ADELE oriented because I think I've practiced this phase around 100 times, and I've very much curated my procedure for phase 1 based around ADELE's Shardbreaker and based around summoning her swords. So all of that just for optimal damage uptime, or not really uptime, but optimal damage in general. So I'm also going to assume that you already know the very basics of Black Mage, such as the curse system, the black curse and white curse system. What gives you black and white curse? White knight gives you white curse, meteors gives you white curse, the following meteors, at least the one that falls in the diagonal fashion. Black knight gives you black curse, black chains give you black curse, right? So I'm not going to go too in depth on that stuff. If you want, there's a very good Black Mage guide video out there that can show you exactly what the mechanics are. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on how to optimize your damage around these mechanics and how to play around the knights. All right. Without further ado, I guess we can get straight into how to do phase 1. So, all right. Before you enter phase 1, there are some prerequisites that you absolutely need. And not even just phase 1, but for the rest of Black Mage. So, the first one is you need both of your hero's wills, the one from your 4th job and the one from your 5th job. And I highly recommend maxing out Will of Urda so that the cooldown is as short as it can possibly be, and then put it into a slot that's level 5, so it will have 330-second cooldown. This is because, from an unliberated perspective, when you're in roar, the will acts as a curse iframe. Basically, it will prevent you from getting a curse. It won't remove your current curse, but it will prevent you from getting a curse, which will allow you to not take a curse death if you are currently cursed. So it's very important. I use this basically every burst. Yeah, basically every burst I pop this. So this is very, very important. And then you'll be alternating between them every burst. So one burst you use your 4th job one, the next burst you use your 5th job one. Now, another thing that I highly recommend is the Warrior Link skill, Invincible Belief. So what does this do? And, well, it's pretty self-explanatory if you read it. It heals you 35% of max HP every 1 second for 3 seconds if your health falls below 15% every 210 seconds. So basically, every 210 seconds, when your health falls below 15%, it full heals you. Basically what it does. Which is very good because it heals you through black curse. And this has saved my ass so many times. And then, if you're not too confident in your ability to dodge things, another thing I recommend is bringing Auto Recovery 2, which I believe is this one. So this will fully recover your HP every 30 seconds when a skill is used, similar to Fatal Strike, except this time, instead of giving you damage, it will full heal you. And this also heals through black curse. What doesn't heal through black curse is familiars. Healing familiars do not heal through black curse. So don't even bother with those. Just full damage familiars. But yeah, if you don't use auto recovery, then stick Fatal Strike in there. So, as I said earlier, phase 1 is very, very procedural. You have to follow a very specific certain amount of steps to execute all of your damage. And honestly, dude, phase 1 is the hardest phase in Black Mage. If this thing had as much health as any of the other phases, this would be insanely difficult. But luckily, it only has 63 trillion HP, and you can basically 1 to 2 bursts out of here. And speaking of 1 or 2 bursts, how do you manage this? How do you go about that? So if you can 1 burst it, great. You're good. You'll be out of there within like 30 seconds. If you can't 1 burst it, like me, I had to 2 burst it. What you're going to have to do is after your first burst, just run. Do not fight the knights. If you fight the knights and the white knight gets teleported to you, it's basically GG. Like you will get blended and start losing so many lives to curse death. Because if you get white cursed, then you get hit by chains, which isn't good. Or if you get white cursed by the white knight and the black knight is there, then you're also screwed. So especially when you get kicked, if you get kicked, you get stunned. It's horrible. Even if you're fighting the black knight, you get kicked. Oftentimes he'll kick you right towards the white knight, and then you're stunned, and that white knight is just gonna smack you in the face, and that's a curse death right there. And if you receive a curse death, it's a 5-second skill lock. And if you're skill locked for 5 seconds, you can't flash jump, you can't fucking move. You're basically screwed. Once you finish your burst, just go run off to the side and just sit there and wait for your burst to come off cooldown. If you need extra damage, you can run back and throw like your mini burst at them. Do not do Storm. Do not do this one because this requires you to fight the knights for like 15 seconds and it's just not worth it. It is not worth the risk. Just go in there and throw this, and this. And if you need that damage, that is most of the time, if you have the damage for BM, you will do around 60 to 70% on your first burst if you have the damage. And another thing, people say the min damage for BM is 180 beat per second. That is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard in my life. It is definitely not 180 beat per second. You literally have to be some fucking robot to perfectly execute everything and do damage during FMA, which is fucking impossible, to clear BM within the hour with 180 beat per second. For example, I have 256 beat per second. My P3 was 251 beat per second. And I finished in 52 minutes. If I had literally half that, like minus 50% final damage, there's no way in hell I'm doing this shit. Or like not 50%, like 25%. Like what the, are you kidding me? Ain't no fucking way. So the BA that I personally recommend is like 220 minimum. 220 minimum beat per second on a BM dummy to solo Black Mage. All right. Holy shit. With all of that out of the way, let's get into P1. All right, so I just made a big cut because I'm like, dude, why do I have to actually do it when I can just show you my own VOD? So here, all right, so I'm giving myself domain here. And then, all right, domain is given. And then I pop my 60s, as you can see. I pop this skill. Okay, you can't really see it, but like I pop Divine Wrath, Weapon Aura, and then Overdrive. And then I punch the air to proc Fatal, and then we instantly go in. We instantly go in here. So at this screen right here, you can actually use skills. Like when the screen turns black from the cutscene. So right there, I instantly pop Will's skill, and then the next 2 skills that you pop here are Grandis and Legacy Overdrive, or Legacy Restoration. So I pop both. So I pop 3 skills on entry: Will skill, Grandis, Legacy. And then the next thing that I immediately do right after is move a little bit to the right. Now, why do I move a little bit to the right? This is to get out of the kick range of the white knight. Because if you get kicked by the white knight, you get white cursed, and then black is probably just going to kick you or dash, and you're just going to eat a curse death. So you move a little bit to the right. So white can either teleport or dash. So when he teleports, he will teleport to where black is. Just keep that in mind. I'll go over what to do with different knight variations in a second, but those are the 2 options that white has. Now, black has the same options, except he can also kick you, which I can also go over. But let's just look at the procedure real quick, because this is exactly what you're supposed to do. So right when they become hittable, which is after like 2 seconds, you put Grave Proclamation onto the black one. Because if you're ever going to be fighting the knights, you're only going to be fighting the black one. So put Grave Proclamation on the black knight. So while that's happening, we summon all 8 of our swords. 1, 2, 3, 4, all 8. So as you can see, white chose to teleport, which is great. So now white is going to appear where black is. So black decided to dash. So this is fine. So black dashes here, and now we can resonance rush through him to get our first stack of resonance rush. And as you can see, the knights have switched position here. The white is going to come down here. And what do I do here? I resonance rush, and then I instantly jump back in. And I'll show you what I do, why I jump back in a second. So white lands, and then where do I go? I stick myself right at white's feet. And there's a reason for this. We don't want white to dash anymore. If we stand like somewhere else, we could also get kicked by black, which isn't good. But we don't want white to dash. We want him to stay here. So by putting ourselves at his feet, we can enable him to either kick or teleport. And when he teleports, he's going to land in the same position. And as you can see here, he chose to teleport. And that's good because black is about to dash and they will be stacked, which is exactly what we want in phase 1. We want to stack the knights on top of each other. This is also the setup for Shardbreaker so they can dash together. Now, if white is about to kick, or actually it doesn't even matter. If white TPs or kicks, it doesn't matter. This is because the knights have like a cooldown for their attacks. Basically, like they have a thought process. So when you practice this phase enough, you will know how long that thought process is. And it's like, if I were to give it an estimate, it's like 1 second. So when I come here, like, okay, let me go back a little bit. Okay, so black dashes, we resonance rush through. White comes down. So it's about 1 second. And right when he's about to make an attack, you pop Infinity Blade. You will use your Infinity Blade's iframe to block whatever white does. So you don't get white cursed. So he chose to teleport, but I procced Infinity Blade anyway. If he kicked, it would have been the same outcome. White would have been here and black would dash over. So black dashes over, white is still up in the air. So what do? I up jump to bind them just to make sure that I hit both of them. Up jump and bind. Perfect. All right, this is great. They are stacked on top of each other and they are binded. And then once they are binded, you are going to pop your True Nobility and Impenetrable Skin. This is really important. True Nobility protects you from getting hit by black chains. You can just tank black chains. And Impenetrable Skin protects you from getting kicked. Kicked out of roar, that is. Because you're going to be popping your hero's will, so you probably won't get cursed death. So, Impenetrable Skin and True Nobility. Alright? And then, my positioning here is also insanely important. The point of positioning here is to pop roar at this exact location. We want the edge of the roar, the right side, to line up with the knights. This is so that we can stand on the opposite side of the roar to force them to dash. This is how we set up for Shardbreaker. So we pop roar in this exact location, and then right when, as you can see, right when I pop ruin, fatal procced, which is huge damage, which is good. So we walk in, we walk closer to them just so we can get a good gathered bloom on them, right? Gather bloom. So what buttons did I just press there? This is a lot of information, and I'll go over it a couple times. Okay, let me go over this one more time. Roar, AB Link, Storm, and Random Destruction. Walk in close, gather bloom, and then look what I do here. I walk out. I walk out to the very edge. So now this makes the knights dash across, since you're gonna be out of their kick range. You don't want them to kick you. If they kick you and one stays here, it's all over. It's fucked up. You fucked up. So we position the roll like this so we can stay on the edge and stay out of their kick range so they dash. So now we hit them and we prepare ourselves, because once they become unbinded, you pop your first hero's will. Because when both of them dash, if you don't pop a hero's will, you'll take a curse death. So once they're unbinded, I pop a hero's will. As you can see, this button is red because that's my hero's will button. I pop one of them. And as they dash, you pop Shardbreaker. See, I pop Shardbreaker here as well. So I pop Shardbreaker, and as you can see, all the shards get hit here. And just look how much damage I'm about to do. I just chunked off like 10 to 15% of their health just with Shardbreaker. Let's go back. Here comes Shardbreaker. It drops from like 60% down to like 40%, 50%. Like mid 60s to like 40%. Let me see that again. How much damage did I do? Yeah, it was literally 20%. 20% of their health instantly just disappeared. So that's how powerful Shardbreaker is. And that's why we need to hit both of them with Shardbreaker tech. So we force both of them to dash into our Shardbreaker. And it does just insane amount of damage. So now once they're over here, we jump back to the other side of Roar. Why? So they dash again. We do not want them to be kicking. Kicking is bad. We want them to dash. So now we don't use our second hero's will. We're going to iframe. Our iframe here, our Ether Guard, can guard against a curse. So we are mainly waiting for white. If they dash at the same time, then iframe both. But sometimes their dash is a little bit offset. Black might go first or white might go first. So you have to pay attention to which knight is going first because you have to iframe the white knight. So in this case, they both go at the same time. So also, another thing, as you notice, I jump iframe through. This is because look at where they end up. If you were standing here iframing and the knights finish at this location, our iframe won't last long enough to guard against the dash because the dash hitbox is like a little bit behind them and like a lot in front of them. So if you're standing here and they finish the dash here, you will still get a curse. You will get a curse. And you might not get a curse left, but why take that risk? So I jump iframe through them so I end up away from the dash. And now it is important to see what they do here. Again, there's like that thinking time, remember? So I get like one cleave in here and then I had to just dip. I had to ditch the Roar. And as you can see, like Roar is almost done anyway, so I didn't miss too much time. So since I saw the fallings coming from this direction, I didn't want to go this way. I just resonance rushed right through them. And feather floating here might have been a bad option because our feather float has like a small delay and I could have gotten kicked there by white. So I resonance rushed right through him. And then I tried to do my best to just finish off the burst properly. And then the burst is over and what do? I just dip. I run. I blinked, but it doesn't matter. And then we just chill. We chill here for the rest of the time until our burst is back up again. I don't use any attacks, by the way, nothing. So let's go over that one more time. Let's go over that again. Oh, and by the way, before I continue, is also might be important to bind flash jump to a button. This allows you to flash jump way faster and it could save you from a knight that's dashing sometimes. Just keep that in mind. All right. Back to the start. Okay, what do we do before we enter? We pop our 60-second buffs, Divine Wrath, Weapon Aura, and Conversion Overdrive, and we smack the air for Fatal Strike. Perfect. All right, and instantly enter. I love ads! Anyway, all right. So cutscene. And when the cutscene goes black, you can actually cast skills. Right, so I cast, what do I cast here? I cast True Arachnid Reflection, Grandis, and Legacy Restoration. And then I instantly move a little bit to the right to get out of the white kick range. And once they become targetable, we throw Grave Proclamation onto the Black Knight. And then we summon all 8 swords. So all 8 swords are out. And then when Black dashes, we Resonance Rush through him to get a stack of Resonance Rush. And instantly jump back towards the White Knight to get within his kick range so he stays there. And be prepared to use our Infinity Blade iframe to iframe his White Curse. So he decides to teleport here, and we Infinity Blade instantly. Now, we move away from... Okay, so first we bind, and now we move a certain distance away from the knights so we can set up our Roar to set up for Shardbreaker. So here comes True Nobility, Impenetrable Skin, and then AB Link, Roar, Sword of Destruction when Fatal gets procced, Storm, Rain, Gather Bloom. Perfect. So we press all those fucking buttons, and then we move to the very other side of Roar, away from the knights, and be prepared to use our first Hero's Will the moment they become unbinded. So they're unbinded, pop Hero's Will, and then Shardbreaker when they dash. And perfect. And then once they dash, jump to the other side of Roar, so they dash again, and then be prepared to jump iframe through them. Jump iframe, and then just get out of there. And at that point you have to dish Roar, but by that time you should have survived in it for most of the 15 seconds. which is good. All right. And then if you're lucky to be fighting black, then you can keep fighting black. But if you have white over on you, then you have to just play around him. Stay out of range of his dash. You have to know his dash range. Basically, the dash is his entire hitbox, is all of his stored here. This huge ass box is his hitbox. Literally half my screen is his hitbox. So you just have to stay out of that. And as you can see, I was using binded flash jump to run. And then after the burst is over, just go to the other side of the map, away from the knights, and just sit there. And just sit. Another tip that I want to say. Do not let your pets heal you. They fuck up your heal. Technically, every single time Black Curse is off of you, you should heal. Every time Black Curse is off, you should heal. And sometimes, if your pet is healing you, this will go off cooldown and your heal will be off cooldown. Or on cooldown for like 10 seconds. And it's a 10-second healing cooldown in Black Mage, by the way. So if Black goes off, if Black disappears and your heal is on a 10-second cooldown, you might be fucked. You might be fucked because you get Black Curse again, then you can't heal, and then it's just a whole motherfucking, it's horrible. So just heal on your own. As you can see, I have my heal binded. So heal manually. Whenever Black Curse is off of you, practice healing manually. Alright, so now we just sit and wait. We sit and wait for 3 minutes. So, okay, how do you deal with this? So, you can actually, one thing you can do is just walk and then jump. Like this. This is good. You can just outwalk the chains. And then we sit. So you just sit here dodging the chains, dodging the whites, whatever. This is all you have to do. And then once again, for FMA, you can just hop across. Try not to proc the knights. If the knights get procced, then if this is white, if this was the white knight, I would try to use blink tech, and hopefully it sends me to the other side of the map, or iframe through the FMA and then feather float through the next laser and try to get away from white as far as you can. You do not want white there. But since this is black, this is fine. I'll just do some damage to him. And unlucky for me, white was camping here and he catches my ass off guard and I take a curse death. I don't know how I don't take this curse death, but all good. We take what we can, and then I just ditch the other side. No more damage. Fuck that. We ditch the other side. And we continue waiting. We continue waiting and waiting and waiting. So once our burst is off cooldown, we start buffing. So normally at this point, by the time your bind is off cooldown, there will be another FMA. There will be another FMA at this point. So there are a couple options for your second burst. You can wait out the FMA and then go in for the knights. So normally when you go in for the knights, they will be stacked, but sometimes they're not. And if you aggro them, one will come to you. The only knight that you really want to bind is actually the white knight, so it doesn't move. But here I said, fuck it, because black was here. I was like, fuck it, let's just bind the black knight and try to get out of here. And then you'll see why this was a mistake in a second, because white will actually come over and fuck me. So this process is the exact same as the first burst. You want to bind the knights and then position your roar for a Shardbreaker attack. Like, that's the most important part, really. So white is now here, and I'm trying to save my hero's will, so you need both hero's will and your iframe to stay in roar for the full 15 seconds. Then again, you probably don't have to if you do enough damage on your first burst. But here I use a hero's will and use Shardbreaker tech. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough to kill them, and I accidentally stepped out of roar because I got scared of the white knight. And as you can see, I'm now getting blended by the white knight since I didn't bind him. So I lose 2 lives there. So your second burst, you want to bind the white knight. That's the knight you want to bind. If you bind the black knight, you'll end up like me, looking like a fucking idiot and losing 2 lives. So that is how your second burst should play out. And then if it should just finish them. It should finish them there. And we get another ad. Whatever. But yeah, so that's basically how it should go. That's how it should go. Now I'm gonna try to get the knights to do something stupid here so that I can show you exactly what to do. So Before we enter, it's your 60 seconds, heal yourself, proc Fatal Strike, and enter. Now on this black screen, I can pop the will skill, move to the right, and then summon all of my swords. So they might do the same thing here actually. And then wait for white to do something. Okay, this is horrible. This is bad. So now what do I do? Now they're just gonna keep dashing across. So what did I do there? What did I do there? I'm gonna VOD review this after. But I'll tell you exactly what happened and how I dealt with it. But here, same procedure. And then now we have to dish roll a little bit early because at that point the whites were falling, so I needed to get out of there. I didn't have any space to move. But there you go. That's the burst. So if both knights dash, you want to try to hug the black knight. Why do you want to hug the black knight? It's because you want him to kick. And instead of using anything to dodge the kick, you have to be able to predict and then move out of the kick, the range of the kick. So you have to know their thinking time and then be prepared to jump out of the way of the kick. Now let me see if I can try to grab one of the knights so I can show you exactly how that kick looks like. Okay, so I grabbed one of them. All right. So give it some thinking time. He's kicking and dodge. So that was, the second time was bad because I wasn't exactly prepared for it. Okay, I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna try to pull the black knight again. Okay, both of them are coming. Okay, let's see if I can grab the black knight. Nope, both of them are gonna show up, aren't they? Come here, black knight, come here. All right, so you got the black knight over here. He's gonna keep dashing, right? Okay, all right. Thinking time, kick, and then we dodge it. Thinking time, kick. So we couldn't flash jump there. I had to feather float, otherwise I would die. So it's, that part takes practice. It's like a second of thinking time, but it will take practice for you to actually pull off. So again, the white knights, both of them are here, so we just want to move out of the way. Use feather float to go through the white meteors. Now both of them are going to be coming. Alright, we have the black knight again. We can pull him. I can demonstrate this one more time. So why do we want him to kick again? So he stays in one spot. So when he stays in one spot, it is more likely that white will be teleporting over to you. That's the whole point. You want black to stay in one spot so that white will come over. And then when you see white come over, you have to be able to get out of the way of his dash and then instantly bind them, as I did as I just did. I'll pull that up in a second and then I will show you guys exactly what I just did and we can go over that. All right, so I'm back in Premiere, and as promised, I'm going to VOD review exactly what happened when both of them decided to dash and what you should do in that situation, because it's not over yet. It's a horrible situation to be in, but it's not over yet. So the whole idea is to hug a knight and be prepared to dodge their kick, which I will get into literally immediately after this quick VOD review. But the whole point is to still play exactly like we did here. Stick to a knight and hopefully he kicks you. And then you have to be able to dodge that kick by not expending an iframe or a hero's will, and hopefully you don't have to use impenetrable skin, but you have to be prepared to dodge the kick. So both of them dash. And as you can see, I'm still hugging the black knight here. I'm still hugging the black knight. Unfortunately, they still decided to dash again, which is really bad. So what do? I have to run from the white knight. And I jump back onto the white knight again, in hopes of him kicking. I want him to kick because I know for a fact the other knight is going to come over. So, but luckily for us, he ends up teleporting. So that, if you look closely here, like when I get to him, I immediately resonance rush because I'm prepared. As you can see, as I'm resonance rushing, he's already teleporting because I know his thought process timing is up and he's about to make a decision here. So if he were to kick here, I would be over here and black would dash. So I'm going through white, he would kick this area here and then black would dash over. But luckily he decided to teleport. So black dashes over and I'm able to bind them. And then it's the same process from there. So once again, if they decide to dash through each other, it's the same process. The process remains the same. Always try to stay close, hug one of them, and dodge the kick. That's what I use Resonance Rush for. Again, here, see, I jump right back in, and then I instantly Resonance Rush, anticipating that kick. But he doesn't kick, he TPs, and I jump up and bind, and it's the exact same process all over again. Right? Very good, very good. All right, so I'm gonna let the rest of the video play out. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. All right, let's see if I can get the knights to do other things, so I can demonstrate what to do. So if both knights dash and they cross each other, that's the worst possible outcome. And I just showed you how to do that, which is perfect. So here, 1, 2, 3. Great Proclamation. So black dashes, we go back to white, and white kicks. Right there, we have to use our Infinity Blade iframe. As you see, that's exactly what I did. I don't know if I procced. Okay. So since they were close together a little bit early, I was able to, fail strike proc later than my bind. Which is, honestly, it's fine. It's perfectly okay. So again, right there, when white kicks, that's perfect. You can just use your Infinity Blade iframe so it stays in one place, and then you follow the same procedure, exactly the same way. Like, again, Fatal Strike might not be exactly where you want it to be, but as long as it pops during your roar, it's honestly fine. And then once again, if you don't one burst it, you just ditch to a side and stay there. Alright, again, I think there's like one more knight variation that I still want to show you guys, so... Alright, comes the cutscene. I don't know if will skills have cooldown yet. It is. Step to the right, Great Proclamation, some made swords. Now, black kicks, and then just wait for him to dash, and then you're fine. Same thing here. Here comes white, and bind. The procedure is exactly the same if he kicks you. That's exactly what I wanted to show you. Alright, sick. Doesn't look like Grave is on them. And then Shardbreaker, perfect. Get out of there. And then wait for white to dash, and then we iframe through it. Perfect. And then we get out of here. And if you check back in the VOD, I'm pretty sure I was inside of Roar for basically its entire duration. Alright, so before we get to the end of the video, there are actually a few more cases that I completely forgot to show you, but I went back into my list of Black Mage runs and I went through like a bunch of them and I found like a bunch of the edge cases that I want to show you. So a couple of things that I missed is what happens when black TPs and then white dashes across. And then another thing is what happens when I'll just show you. These are a couple of the edge cases that I just wanted to go over. Okay, so we go in, right? Same thing, honestly. Black dashes, we do the resonance rush, we jump back to white. White kicks, we use infinity iframe to dodge. But what happens here? Black didn't dash over in time. And now white is about to dash over. So I noticed white was dashing over and I was like, fuck. So I had to go over here. So now it might have been the better option to go this way and cross through white. But what I did here was I went this way and I forced white to come over, or white was already coming over. So I ditched to the other side, right? I come back in and then I force white to kick, again, anticipating the kick here. So once I get close to white, I instantly get to the other side, and now black is dashing over, and boom, now we have achieved our bind. So that's another edge case right there. Black might not make it to white in time, and white might dash, and they might do the cross thing again. So exactly what I literally just went over. It's exactly the same process. You want to stick to a knight to make him kick. So as you can see, black didn't make it in time, white dashes, so we run away from white. We come back in, make him kick, and then have black dash over, and then we get our bind. Perfect. And then, again, we continue as the same thing. All right, next edge case. Right here, perfect. Okay. So same thing here. Pop the 3 skills, Great Proclamation. Now, what happens if black TPs and white starts to dash? Well, now at this exact moment, you need to use your Infinity Blade iframe to block white, which is exactly what I do here. And now what do? I go stick myself to black. Treat it as if they crossed each other, that whole same pattern. I go and stick to black to make him kick. But this is another edge case. What happens if black decides to dash? Well, you have to run. And then same thing, stick to him. Make him kick. He doesn't kick. He doesn't kick there, but he dashes to white. But what do I notice here? White doesn't move. So I want to get the fuck away from white so that he thinks I'm out of range. So I get the fuck away from white, and then when black reaches him, I instantly go back in and bind. And they're stuck. Perfect. So again, there are so many edge cases. You just have to know the procedure and what to do in each case. So if black TPs and white dashes, you have to use your Infinity Blade right here. And then dash to black, hoping he kicks. Hoping he kicks. If he kicks, my movement will be the same, by the way. Even if he kicks, even if he kicks, the movement that I do in this situation will remain the same. I run away. So I get away from white. That's the whole point, is to get away from white, put white out of your screen. So there I make black go back. I wanted either black to kick and white to dash, or black to do exactly what he just did. That's why I went to the inner part of black. Perfect, right? So you want one of them to stay in one place and one of them to dash. And if it's the white one, you just have to, hopefully, this is why I have flash unbinded. You can just ditch and then come back and throw the bind exactly like what I did here. I jumped away, came back, and threw the bind. Perfect. All right, next fucking edge case. All right, again, same 3 skills, Great Proclamation, all that good stuff. There it is, spawn out 8 swords. All right, so black kicks, which is fine. So this is what happens when black kicks. Black kicks, and then instantly Resonance Rush through him. That's a stack of Resonance Rush. And it's the same thing. It's as if he dashed and you Resonance Rush through and jump back in. It's the exact same thing. That's normally what happens there. But here, white decides to dash. What do? You pop Infinity iframe. Exactly the same. White dashes and you bind. Perfect. It doesn't matter what happens here. After his thought process is over, you have to pop Infinity Blade to block the curse. So instead of white kicking or TPing, white dashes, but black stayed. Which is why you have to change on the spot and be like, okay, I recognize this. They're stacked. Instantly bind. Perfect. Right? And then exactly everything plays out the exact same way. And here comes a Shardbreaker and a shitload of damage. Iframe. Okay, here I missed the iframe. Here I actually missed the iframe. I iframed a little bit too late. But still, this was one of my better bursts. Even though it wasn't the burst I did on my clear, it was still one of my better bursts. So it's not the end of the world. Even though you may lose a life during the burst, it wasn't the end of the world. And then I keep fighting them just to get damage off, and I got them down to 25%. So I did around 75% of their HP with that burst there. So it's not the end of the world if you do take a cursed death. Just keep fighting. Right? All good. And I think I have one more edge case to show you guys. Okay, here's the next edge case. Here comes all the stuff as usual. All right, what happens here? Black TPs. Again, white's going to dash. Okay, I guess, see, sometimes there's a delay. There's a delay, white didn't dash immediately. So I took advantage of that and instantly threw a bind. And once again, the process stays the same. You have to recognize these delays and be like, okay, shit, white hasn't dashed yet. I can bind here. You have to notice all the points in which you can throw a bind down. And then the process plays out the exact same way. Perfect. And then I ditch roar. Right? You have to notice these different points that can happen because the knights are very unpredictable. Very unpredictable. So you have to know so you have to stick to one thing, and that is to stick to a knight, prepare for the kick, and hopefully he either kicks or TPs, and then if the white knight is going to dash towards you, dip. Just run and then come back and throw the bind. Right? Because normally when they TP, they'll drop in the exact same spot. So keep that in mind. Right? And that's it. cool beans. We've covered it all, I think. And obviously, dude, like, you can watch this video. I can show you all these cases, but there might still be some differences. But as long as you know what to do, and hopefully I covered that in this video, for exactly what to do in each situation to adapt to each situation, then your P1 should be golden. And I hope you get out of there as fast as you fucking can. So, that is P1. That is P1. And then you wait and you do the exact same thing again. Now, obviously, I don't know. In the video, like right now, it seems really hectic in my own mind because I'm not looking at anything. But in the video, I'm going to put all the stuff on the screen nice and neatly so you guys can see all the skills, and then you guys can go ahead and practice it. Now, I'll also be leaving checkpoints, or not checkpoints, but like chapters in the video description so you guys can see exactly which points. Night Variation 1, Night Variation 2, Night Variation 3, and the prerequisites, all of that is covered. And I think I've done exactly what I needed to do in P1 to cover all of that and how to get your maximum damage output possible. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, comment down below any questions that you have. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. There's part 2, 3, and 4 coming out. So, and don't worry, parts 2, 3, and 4 will be for all classes probably. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.